Welcome back, and it's time for the second part of our Weelee Chinese SUV battle. And although it's been very close so far, it's still anybody's win at this stage of the game. Welcome back to part 2 of our wheelie battle between the Beijing X55 and the Haval Jolion behind me over here. Both cars costing similar prices. The Beijing, though, with much lower mileage at about 14,000 kilometers. This one's got 55,000 kilometers on the clock. So there's going to be a little bit of wear. Cool. There's going to be a little bit of brake, suspension and tire wear. So it's fair to say that these cars aren't necessarily brand new, perfect examples.
Of course. So I know what you're thinking. What happened on the track? That's all you care about. You want to hear his in-car commentary. You want to hear mine. Nicky Netchefefe on my left. You know how he speaks.
Just call me Nicky. Tell them Nicky sent you.
Yeah, I love that. Anybody that follows the podcast will know that historically I have not been the world's biggest proponent of Chinese vehicles. However, I'm coming around, and the motoring public is definitely coming around.
Now, the Beijing immediately feels more pokey. It actually feels tighter and more well put together, but as soon as you hit the brakes, you feel that the drivetrain feels cheaper.
Now, the vehicle that I'm in, the Beijing, is one brand that historically I cannot say I was a fan of. And allow me to explain. Because if you have a negative opinion on anything, there's got to be a reason behind it. It can't just be born out of, well, I don't like the name. When Chery came to South Africa, when Haval came to South Africa, when Jetour came to South Africa, when BYD came to South Africa, they worked with the very, very best brands and dealer groups in the country. So when I say best dealer groups, who am I talking about? Super Group, Hatfield, CFAO Mobility, BB Group, that type of caliber of motor group. They gave their dealerships to people in the wrong part of town. Now, what is the problem with giving your dealership to somebody in the wrong part of town? It's obvious. They don't have the ability to give you the after-sale service. Buying a vehicle is one thing. Owning a vehicle is the long term. Now, I take my vehicle for its first service, and the workshop I take it to looks like a backstreet mechanic. Am I going to have confidence in the brand? No. Have BAIC arrested that? Absolutely no question. Do they deserve a fair chance? Equally, no question.
Less plasticky inside, certainly looks modern. Even the font looks modern inside this car. Now, when it comes to something that looks good and modern, that also means that it can age pretty quickly. And what do you think? Do you think the Beijing has aged at all? It looked futuristic when it came out. It was one of the first Chinese cars to really adopt this European-esque motor show type of look.
What is my first impressions of this car? Feels very, very good. Now, we've driven recently a lot of German stuff, and if I say to you, is the difference noticeable? Absolutely. If anybody says it's not noticeable and the tech in these cars overrides any potential negatives, I don't say they're wrong, but I would say they are moving away from the obvious reason you buy a car. For me, I've always said a car's got to do two things for me. It's got to look good and it's got to drive good. Let's tick one box immediately.
So let's do a bit of a slalom test here. Oh my goodness me. Yeah, so it's not the kind of car you want to get in a tank slapper with. Definitely not. If I turn that driver aid off, if I can find it, I'll probably have to go into the system somewhere. Let's see if I can turn. Now, here's the big problem with a car like this, is that I now want to try and turn off the driver aids. Okay, go to sport, it's in sport mode. Where the heck do I find it while driving on the road? Now, I'm going to try and do, Mike's in front of me, there's no one else on the track. I'm going to try and change this without going off. The track ESP is off now. And this is the driving experience that most people have to go through these days. I wish I just had buttons for certain things. I don't know where the hazard button is. Where is the hazard button?
One thing that I do need to comment on, and it's not unique to this particular vehicle, but endemic to every single Chinese vehicle, the quality of the tires that they are coming into South Africa on, there's not a shadow of doubt in my mind, they are poor, they are inferior. So for example, the road noise, noticeable. Tire squeal, noticeable. The actual braking ability, of course, you've got an all-round disc brake, ABS setup, so you'd expect the brakes to be up to modern standards, and they're good. But you can hear that the tires feel like the weak link. The quicker an ABS braking system kicks in, it tells you the quicker the tires have lost traction. And unfortunately, when it comes to the Chinese entrants, the tires do lose traction quickly.
It's kind of got that built-in fun factor, kind of like a Polo GTI, where the front is always going to grip. That's not necessarily a good thing in a family SUV. So let's try and zigzag it over here and watch what happens. See what I mean? I'm gonna not correct it now, okay? Hey, I couldn't even help myself there. Now, granted, the stability systems do sort you out. But if that happens on a wet road, yeah, you could be in for some trouble. But to be fair, the stability systems are sorting the car out, and that's what they're there for. Should it be allowed to help you override the laws of physics? That's a debate for another day. But without the stability control, if it was completely off, which I'm not even sure you can do.
If you're looking for a vehicle that's going to get you from A to B, there's not a single vehicle in the South African market, new or quality secondhand, that won't get the job done. If you're looking for a vehicle to excite you, then the field narrows. Does the Beijing excite? Most definitely not. Does it get the job done? Of course, that we've established. Would I buy it? Possibly. Would I look further? Most definitely.
So let's try one more time with the stability off. And I think it actually kicks in once it picks up that something bad really bad is happening. It's concerning for those people out on the road that have never experienced anything like that. And I would highly suggest, if you haven't experienced a moment like that, get an advanced driver training course under your belt and feel what it's like to be in that sort of panic situation. Let's try here. Wait, oh. Yeah, now that's a wild ride. That's a wild ride.
What's interesting with GWM and Haval, in the car range, you call it the Haval Jolion, and in the LDV BAIC Ute range, you call it the P series. Now, of all the entrants into the South African market, one brand set the groundwork, and that was GWM. Please forgive me if I'm wrong, either 2009 or 2011, but there or thereabouts, so 16, 17, 18 odd years, depending what the exact answer is. Have they proven themselves? Absolutely.
When we do track time with these cars, it's different to our performance car tests. It's supposed to be, and granted the presenters get carried away sometimes, it's supposed to be a road test on a circuit so that we can do certain things without worrying about traffic. Now, if we're doing the slalom test, for example, I can feel, yeah, the shocks on this one aren't in the best condition. And this car's got 53,000 kilometers on the clock.
In terms of quality, not looks-wise, I believe that vehicle trumps this 10 out of 10. But you can immediately feel this is a lot more premium in every single respect. It feels more planted. We'll talk about the driving dynamics in a moment, but let's start with ergonomics. I feel immediately more comfortable in this vehicle. I'm not pushing on hard, but I must tell you, you don't realize on camera, this is definitely driving a little bit beyond the normal day-to-day. What I will say about this car's ergonomics that I do like is it's got a combination of touchscreen, which is great, But the basics, putting on your aircon, putting on your rear demister, unlocking the car, putting radio on and off, is still buttons. That they've got 100% right.
So probably one of the first things I would check if you're ever buying a car is the shock absorbers. This one's got 53,000 kilometers on, and I suspect that these shocks have seen better days. There's not an extra bounce. It does go up a little bit too much on the rebound, I think. But definitely shock absorbers and tires are the two things you want to check first when buying a used car. But when it comes to everything else in this car, it does work as advertised. You put your foot down and it goes. The gear changes work quite nicely. And it's predictable enough on the brakes. It's actually quite a smooth car on this surface over here. And as an overall driving experience up to about 100 kilometers an hour, I think it's pretty good.
What are we comparing this vehicle to? Are we comparing this car to its sisters from China, or are we comparing this car to a market that is looking to take over from? And that market is German and Japanese. I will say on record now, I'll say on record in the future. No Chinese vehicle that I have driven has ever blown me away on the sheer drive, on the sheer dynamics, on the braking ability, on the handling ability. Not at all. There's no question. We know it's about price. We know it's about tech. And here again, tick the box. I'm now onto my third lap and I'm going to push on. When I was pushing on in the Beijing, I mentioned that there was a lot of vibration from the brakes. I mentioned that there was a lot of tire squeal. Yep, there we are. The moment you go over what is absolute, I want to call it not even the limit, the minimum acceptable. There again, the tire squeal is immense. I'm going to take this flat out.
This version of the Haval is a couple of generations back, and a lot has changed with the Haval range. They've updated their cars substantially with lots and lots of new tech. So this one is probably a bargain if you're looking to get into a Chinese car that has got a lot of features, and at this stage, the brand is pretty proven. I think if you're looking at a car that costs as much as this one does, there's probably not much else you're going to get with this level of tech, especially in the used market.
My final verdict on the Haval Jolion, I can see why it's successful. I can see why it's selling in proper numbers. I can see that it's got inherent quality at a level. Is this the kind of car I would finance over 84 months with a 35% residual? No. But in fairness, there's not many cars that I would do that structure. But the point I'm trying to get across is, could I see myself living with this car for 7 years? No. Could I see myself living with this car for a shorter period of time? Possibly. Am I a buyer? Unfortunately not. So we spent a good 25 to 30 minutes on track, both of us in each car. If I say to you, often I do this, I say to you, my hands are wet. Going to be very open with you, my hands are bone dry, majorly underwhelmed. Got the job done. As we said, in the real world, we'll get the job done. But on track, were you impressed or unimpressed?
Unimpressed, but not for performance reasons. I feel like this one's almost a new car, and if it wasn't for the aids on this car and the safety systems on this car, I feel like it wouldn't really do well. If this car was sold in the 80s, it wouldn't do well at all. So the safety systems do make sure that you kept safe and that the wheels are all facing down on the ground.
Yes.
But in an emergency swerve situation, I would much rather be in the Jolion.
Now, for me, it's very, very simple. We get the opportunity to drive some really nice performance cars. These are not that. Where am I going with this? I'm on track. I'm not pushing on. When I'm not pushing on and I go into a corner and the brakes start shaking, when I come out of the corner and I've got tire squeal, you feel like it's understeered. You feel like you've made a mistake. And the reality is you haven't. Tire squeal in particular, did you find a lot of it?
I felt a lot of that. The Jolion, I think the Jolion is just a little bit older. So I think the wheel alignment might not be 100%. The tires might not be perfect, but fundamentally, I think it was better on track than the Beijing.
Yes.
I feel like also the suspension was a little bit, it got a little bit of years on the suspension, 50,000 kilometers. Maybe it's time for a fresh set of shocks. But the Beijing doesn't have their excuse. It's only got 15,000 k's
Low
on the clock.
mileage.
low mileage. And again, I feel like the transfer time for the
Yes.
suspension when you're swerving left and right in an emergency sort of swerve situation is not fast enough. So for me, clearly, I'm going to go with the Haval Jolion
Okay.
as a driving experience, and then taking not just the actual driving experience, but the safety in case something happens and I need to swerve.
So those of you who watched part 1, you saw the Jolion was quicker and the Beijing won the braking test. On track, I must say, the brakes felt very similar, very average for both, and the performance felt similar, but which one did I feel more comfortable in? You went with it, absolutely, absolutely.
It felt composed. It was never trying to be something it's
Yes.
not. And we did take it into deep waters, we have to admit. But while the Jolion felt composed, the Beijing felt a little out of its depth.
100%. Now, do you remember what the score was when we came into the
I think
contest?
was it tied? I think it was. 3-all.
3-all. And it's a resounding victory for the better of the bunch. There's no question. The Haval is a more polished product, and the sales charts show it, and second-hand figures show it. If you had to choose, are you also going with Haval for everyday use?
100% going with Haval. The Haval would be my recommendation. But I do think that Haval has better products out there. And certainly if budget is a concern, definitely the Jolion. But if you've got a little bit extra to spend, go check out some of Haval's other products.
So we've come to the end of the test. A clear winner, 5-3. We both gave it a point for the on-track. So it pulled away by 2. But for you, is it a clear winner or is it a winner on paper?
I don't want to call it the paper champ, but it's a winner based on the company that it's in. If you compare these two cars and you ask me which one's the better one, I'd have to go with the Jolion. And it would be a difficult conversation to have if we didn't drive them. If we just looked at them from the outside, you'd clearly say, look at the Beijing, it's a fantastic looking car. But I would say the Jolion takes it out of these two, but I do think there are some better options out there. Maybe budget is a concern, and you've got to look at the Beijing if you want a brand new car for very little money with all the tech features. But in this battle here today, at these prices with this mileage, it's got to be the Jolion.
To Nicky Netchefefe, you are missed. To Ernest Page, you're a worthy competitor.
A worthy replacement.
No need to whip me every time. Sometimes there'll be one.
Nicky, we'll see you next time. And to the rest of you folks out there watching, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining this Weelee battle. And Mike will see you in the next one. And that's it for this series of Weelee battles. But we will be filming more of these exciting battles in the very near future, so stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more Weelee action.
Oh, Mike's seating position, so high. He'd swear he was a bus driver in a previous life.
Sleek lines mean aerodynamics. Aerodynamics.
And I did once know where the hazard button was, but I can't find it. It's here somewhere. Is it? I don't know. And you're dead. Yeah, keep your eyes on the road, people.
The quicker an ABS system kicks in. So you may be thinking, who do I believe is Haval's closest competition? I guarantee you won't get it.
Cherry.
Nope.
Beat-up.
Try again.
Yeah.
Starts with a U.
Suzuki. That with a U.
Uber.